Imagine a ship that refuses to die. In October 1931, the crew of the SS Baychimo abandoned their vessel off the coast of Alaska. Trapped in crushing pack ice, the massive steel steamer was expected to sink within hours. The captain and crew were airlifted to safety, looking back at their doomed ship one last time. But when they returned a few days later to salvage the cargo, the ocean was empty. The Baychimo hadn't sunk. It had broken free. This was the birth of the 20th century's greatest ghost ship. For the next 38 years, this unmanned rusting leviathan would roam the Arctic oceans alone, appearing out of the fog like a phantom, only to vanish again before anyone could capture it. To understand how a ship survives for decades without a crew, you have to look at its bones. The Baychimo was born in Sweden in 1914, christened as the Ångermanälven. It was a 1,300-ton beast of riveted steel, specifically reinforced to crush the ice of the Baltic Sea. It wasn't built for speed. It was built for violence against nature. After World War I, it was acquired by the Hudson's Bay Company and sent to the Canadian Arctic. For 9 years, it was the lifeline of the North, navigating treacherous waters to trade with Inuit settlements. In the autumn of 1931, the Baychimo was carrying a fortune in its hold. Furs and pelts worth over $1 million in today's money. But the Arctic is greedy. Winter came early that year. By October 1st, the ice began to thicken unnaturally fast near the Seahorse Islands. The ship, powerful as it was, became paralyzed. Captain Cornwell ordered the engines to stop. They were trapped. The situation deteriorated rapidly. The ice wasn't just holding them, it was squeezing the hull, popping rivets and twisting iron. Fearing the ship would be crushed like an eggshell, the crew built a wooden shelter on the ice floes, a mile away from the ship. They watched their steel home from a distance, shivering in the freezing wind. Then came the blizzard of November 24th. A whiteout so intense that a man couldn't see his own hand. For 3 days, the storm screamed, burying their shelter in snow. When the wind finally died and the sun rose, the men crawled out and looked toward the spot where the Baychimo had been firmly wedged. It was gone, just an empty expanse of white ice. The captain concluded it had finally succumbed to the pressure and sunk to the dark bottom. He was wrong. The ship had simply shaken off its chains and sailed away, leaving its masters behind. If the ship had sunk, the story would have ended there. But a week later, an Inuit hunter reported seeing the ship floating 45 miles away. The captain rushed to the location, boarded the vessel, and retrieved the most valuable furs. But he decided the ship was too damaged to save, leaving it to drift. He underestimated the Baychimo. Thus began the legend. In 1932, a dog sledder named Leslie Melvin was traveling to Nome when he saw a dark shape in the fog. He approached and realized it was the abandoned steamer. He climbed aboard. The silence was deafening. Plates were still in the cupboards, logs were in the cargo hold. It was a perfect time capsule drifting aimlessly. The most terrifying encounter happened in 1933. A group of Inuit hunters and explorers were caught in a sudden, violent storm. Desperate for shelter, they spotted the Baychimo drifting nearby. They managed to board the ghost ship just as the weather turned lethal. For 10 days, they lived inside the rusting hull of the ship that wouldn't die. They ate the emergency rations left by the original crew 2 years earlier. Outside, the ice screeched against the metal plates, sounding like screaming voices. When the storm broke, they fled, leaving the ship to its lonely vigil. The closest the Baychimo came to being captured was in 1939. Captain Hugh Polson, aboard a salvage tug, spotted the prize. He managed to board it and, despite the treacherous ice, attached a towing hawser. For a few hours, it seemed man had finally reconquered the beast. But the Arctic fought back. Massive ice floes began to close in on Polson's tug. If he didn't cut the line, both ships would be crushed. With a heavy heart, he took an axe and severed the rope. The Baychimo drifted back into the mist, undefeated. As the decades passed, the Baychimo underwent a gruesome transformation. Without maintenance, the sleek black paint peeled away, replaced by jagged rust that looked like dried blood against the white snow. Ice accumulated on the superstructure, turning the bridge and funnel into unrecognizable sculptures of frost. It was becoming part of the landscape. Pilots flying the Cold War routes over the Beaufort Sea would often report a strange anomaly on their radar. Looking down, they would see it. Miles from any shipping lane, locked in a slow, circular dance with the polar currents. It was spotted near Point Barrow, then drifted toward the Chukchi Sea, then back again. It covered thousands of miles without burning a single ounce of coal. It became a ghost story told to new sailors. Watch out for the iron ship that stalks the ice. The final confirmed chapter came in 1969. An incredible 38 years after it was abandoned. A group of Inuit hunters near Icy Cape saw a vessel trapped in pack ice. By now, the Baychimo was a shadow of its former self. It was listing heavily to the starboard side. The funnel was battered. It looked like a dying animal, bleeding rust onto the pristine ice. They took a photograph, the only visual proof we have of its final days. It's a blurry, haunting image showing the resilient hull still refusing to go under. Days later, a frantic search was launched. Planes scoured the area. Ships were diverted. But just like in 1931, the Baychimo had pulled its disappearing act. Only open water remained. Since that day, there have been unconfirmed rumors, blips on sonars, and drunk sailors' tales. But the Baychimo has never been officially seen again. In 2006, the Alaskan government launched a high-tech search to find the wreck, hoping to solve the mystery once and for all. They scanned the seabed where it was last seen. They found nothing. No hull, no debris field, just the empty, silent ocean floor. Did it finally sink in 1969? Most experts say yes. The structural integrity would have failed after 4 decades of crushing ice. But no wreck has ever been found. In 2006, the Alaskan government initiated a project to find the ghost ship of the Arctic, scanning the ocean floor. They found nothing. Some say it's lying in a deep underwater canyon. Others believe it's still out there, buried inside a drifting iceberg, waiting to thaw. The SS Baychimo remains one of the ocean's greatest unsolved mysteries. Do you think it's still afloat? Let us know in the comments. Hit like and subscribe to join the search.